"Here's your check, sir," Maya said as she set the black leather folder onto the polished mahogany table. Her voice was calm, steady, the same tone she'd used all evening as she carried plates, refilled glasses, and smiled through exhaustion. Raymond Callahan, billionaire CEO of Callahan Capital, didn't look at her. His eyes were glued to the glowing screen of his phone. He slid a platinum card into the folder and shoved it back across the table with a lazy flick of his fingers, as though dismissing a servant. Maya walked away, ran the card to the register, and returned with a receipt and pen. She set them gently in front of him. "Thank you for dining with us, Mr. Callahan." Raymond scrawled his name with a flourish, shoved the pen back, and dropped it on the table. The tip line remained blank. Maya noticed immediately. Years of waitressing had trained her eyes to zero in on that one detail. The empty space screamed louder than any insult, but his expression made it worse. That smug curl of his lips, that gleam of superiority in his eyes. He was proud of it. Her training told her not to say anything. Her paycheck depended on swallowing pride. But something in his demeanor made her voice rise before she could stop herself. "No tip, sir?" she asked carefully, her tone respectful but edged with disbelief. The atmosphere in the dining room shifted. Diners nearby paused mid-bite. The jazz trio in the corner continued to play, but the notes felt thinner now, as though even the music held its breath. Raymond's head lifted slowly, his eyes narrowing. His smirk widened into a grin, dripping with disdain. He spoke louder than necessary, projecting his voice so the surrounding tables could hear every word. "A tip? For what? For carrying plates from one place to another? For opening a bottle of wine I paid a fortune for? That isn't skill, sweetheart. That isn't talent. That's servitude. And I don't reward servitude." A murmur rippled across the restaurant. Forks clinked against plates. A woman at a nearby table gasped. Someone whispered, "Did he just say that?" Maya froze, her pulse hammering. Heat rose in her cheeks, but she forced her face to stay neutral. She had been insulted before. She had been stiff before. But never like this. Never so loud, so deliberate, so humiliating. She drew a careful breath. "Sir," tipping is customary. It helps cover. "Don't you dare educate me on customs," Raymond snapped, slamming his palm flat against the table so hard the silverware rattled. Crystal glasses trembled. Every head in the dining room turned toward him. "I built a billion-dollar empire," he continued, his voice booming with theatrical arrogance. "With vision, with intelligence, with risk. Do you understand what that means? It means I am the reason places like this exist. Without people like me, you have no job. And you," he jabbed a finger at her chest, "think you deserve a handout for doing the bare minimum? Pathetic." Gasps echoed around the room. A man muttered, "What the hell?" A woman whispered angrily, "What a pig." But Raymond wasn't done. He leaned back in his chair, swirling the last sip of his Bordeaux, and sneered. "You should be grateful you're even allowed to serve people like me. Grateful. Do your job. Keep your mouth shut and disappear." The word disappear sliced through Maya like a blade. She blinked, her hands trembling against the tray she held. Every fiber of her being screamed to fire back, to defend herself, to tell him exactly who she was. But she had learned long ago that reacting gave them more power. So she swallowed, her throat burning. "I'll clear the table now," she said softly. Raymond chuckled, satisfied, as though he had bent her to his will. That's more like it. Quiet, efficient, invisible. Invisible. The word echoed in her skull, heavy, suffocating. She wasn't invisible. She couldn't let him believe he had erased her. As she stacked the plates with steady hands, diners around the room exchanged looks of outrage. A young couple glared openly at Raymond. The woman mouthed at Maya, "Are you okay?" Maya forced a small nod, unwilling to break. At a table across the aisle, a man discreetly lifted his phone and hit record. Another diner whispered, "Get this on video. People need to see." Raymond either didn't notice or didn't care. He smirked into his glass, basking in the silence he had forced on the room. To him, this was dominance, power, proof of his superiority. Maya turned, carrying the plates back toward the kitchen. Her chest felt like it might burst. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to disappear, just like he'd said. But then she remembered something else. Something that stopped her dead in her tracks in the narrow hallway to the kitchen. Her cousin Daniel. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket, vibrating against her hip. With trembling hands, she pulled it out. On the screen glowed his name, Daniel Johnson. Her breath caught. Daniel wasn't just her cousin. He was a rising star at a massive investment firm, one she remembered vividly because he had told her, with excitement, about a record-breaking deal they were negotiating, a deal worth $3.5 billion, a deal with none other than Callahan Capital. Her heart thundered. She stared back through the crack in the door. Raymond Callahan sat at his table, smirking into his phone, sipping the last of his wine, as though nothing and no one could touch him. Maya's mind spun. What if her thumb hovered over the green button? One call, just one. She answered. Daniel. His voice burst through, cheerful, unaware of the storm raging inside her. Hey, cousin. Perfect timing. You won't believe it. We're closing negotiations with Callahan Capital tonight. Multi-billion-dollar deal. This is history in the making. Maya nearly dropped the phone. Her throat closed. Daniel, what if I told you I'm looking at Raymond Callahan right now? Silence crackled over the line. Wait, you're serious? Yes, she whispered. Her voice broke. He's here, at my restaurant. And Daniel, he just humiliated me, in front of everyone. He called me invisible. He said people like me don't deserve tips, that my work is servitude. The line went dead quiet. Then Daniel's voice low and sharp. Unbelievable. Maya, listen, the board's been uneasy about him. They said he was reckless, arrogant, a liability. But no one had concrete proof. If this gets out, Maya's hand shook. Daniel, I don't want to ruin your deal. This is billions. Your career. Maya, he said firmly, this isn't just about a deal. It's about accountability. If he treats you like this in public, imagine what he's like behind closed doors. The board will drop him in a heartbeat if they see this. Maya swallowed hard. She looked back at the dining room. Dozens of eyes burned holes in Raymond. Phones were raised discreetly, recording. The evidence was there. The witnesses were there. Daniel, she whispered, what do I do? Just stay calm. Don't confront him. Let me handle it. But thank you. You've just given me the peace we needed. The line clicked dead. Maya stared at her reflection in the metal kitchen door. Her chest rose and fell in quick bursts. Her hands trembled, but her eyes hardened. Invisible? Not anymore. She slid the phone back into her apron, squared her shoulders, and pushed the door open. The dining room fell silent as she walked past Raymond's table, her head high. Raymond glanced up, smirked, and raised his empty glass. Another bottle, Waitress, the 95 Margaux, and hurry this time. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't answer. She walked straight past him, toward the bar, her mind whirling with what she had just set into motion. One call, just one call, and the empire he bragged about might not survive the night. The restaurant buzzed with a tension thicker than the air itself. Forks barely clinked against porcelain. Diners whispered behind menus and cupped hands. All eyes darting toward the corner booth where Raymond Callahan sat with smug satisfaction. Maya moved through the dining room like a ghost, her apron heavy with the weight of the calls she had just made. Every step echoed louder in her ears than the quiet jazz trickling from the trio in the corner. At the bar, she requested a 95 Margaux with a steady voice that surprised even her. Inside, though, her heart pounded with the weight of what she had set in motion. Daniel had sounded certain that her humiliation tonight could ripple into something far greater than a forgotten tip. From behind the bar, Luis leaned close as he poured the wine. Maya, what did he say to you? Everyone's talking. People are pissed. Maya didn't answer, her hands wrapped around the bottle, cold glass steadying her shaking palms. She turned, carrying it back toward Raymond's table. He leaned back in his seat, as though he owned not just the restaurant, but the very air within it. He watched her approach with the same arrogant smirk. Finally, he drawled, loud enough for half the room to hear, I was beginning to think you'd forgotten how to do your job. Maya poured the wine without a word, her hand steady, her face a mask of calm. Inside, though, she replayed his words again and again. Invisible. Servitude. Grateful to serve me. As she placed the bottle on the table, Raymond leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. You've gone quiet. No lecture this time. He chuckled to himself. Good. You're learning. But the diners weren't laughing. From the corner of her eye, Maya caught phones raised, cameras rolling. A man muttered, "What a monster." A woman at the table beside us whispered, "He's finished. This video is going online right now." Maya stepped back, her chest tight. She couldn't control what was happening around her, but she didn't need to. The room itself was bearing witness. Raymond swirled his glass, took a slow sip, and muttered just loud enough, "People like you should be grateful. That's your problem. No gratitude." Maya clenched her jaw but stayed silent. She wasn't going to give him the outburst he wanted. Her phone buzzed again in her apron. She slipped into the hallway, heart racing, and answered. "Maya." Daniel's voice was urgent now, stripped of the cheer from earlier. "I just spoke to my director. We're convening the board tonight. The footage. Tell me there's footage." "Yes," she whispered. "Half the restaurant has their phones out." Daniel exhaled. "Good. This is it. This is the proof. He's finished. Investors will not back him with this out there. Do you understand what this means?" Maya pressed her back to the wall, the hum of the restaurant vibrating through plaster. "It means he won't walk away this time." "It means," Daniel said, his voice tightening, "you just pulled the pin on a grenade. Stay calm. Don't provoke him further. We'll handle the rest. By morning, he'll be history." The line clicked dead. Maya slipped her phone away and stepped back into the dining room. Raymond's laughter rang out like nails on glass. He was on his own phone now, barking orders to someone unseen. "No, I don't care about their concerns. You tell them Callahan Capital doesn't bend to anyone." "What? Pull out? Over what?" "I'll fix it tomorrow. Tonight, I'm busy dealing with peasants." His eyes flicked toward Maya as he said it, his grin venomous. The diners around him exchanged horrified looks. The woman who had been recording gasped audibly, shaking her head. Unbelievable. Maya collected empty plates from another table, her movements automatic, but her ears stayed locked on him. Every word, every insult, every slip of his tongue, it all fueled the fire. Then his phone rang again. The smirk faltered. His brows drew together as he listened. "What do you mean they've gone cold? This deal is locked. It's billions. They can't just..." His face drained the color. No, listen to me. You tell them this is nothing, a misunderstanding. They'll come crawling back. They always do." But his voice had risen, too sharp, too frantic. Diners leaned in, listening. Cameras zoomed closer. Maya caught his eye from across the room. For the first time all night, his confidence wavered. His glare was sharp, accusing. "You," he hissed, pointing a trembling finger at her. "This is your fault. You set me up." Gasps erupted. A man called out, "Are you kidding?" We all saw it. Another diner shouted, "She didn't do anything. You did this to yourself." Phones flashed. Cameras clicked. The entire restaurant was now united against him. Maya froze, her chest tight, but her voice came out calm, clear, steady. "I just did my job, sir." Her words hung in the air, sharp as glass. Raymond slammed his phone down on the table, his face red with fury. "You'll regret this. Do you know who I am? I could buy this restaurant tomorrow. I could buy you." A voice from the back shouted, "Not anymore, you can't." Laughter broke out. Nervous, tense, but real. Raymond's eyes darted, desperate, trapped. He grabbed his jacket, threw money onto the table, and stormed toward the door. Pathetic. All of you. Pathetic nobodies. The door slammed behind him. For a moment, the restaurant sat in stunned silence. Then a wave of whispers, murmurs, and camera flashes flooded the room. Diners leaned across tables, sharing what they'd recorded, already uploading. Maya stood frozen, her tray pressed against her chest. She should have felt relief, but all she felt was a pounding of her heart, the echo of his words, the weight of what she'd set in motion. Her phone buzzed again. Daniel's message lit up the screen. "It's going viral. Hold on. Everything changes tonight." Maya closed her eyes. She could still hear Raymond's voice, see his face twisted with fury. But for the first time, she also saw something else. Fear. And she knew this was only the beginning. Maya hardly slept that night. Her phone kept buzzing on the nightstand, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Every time she closed her eyes, it would vibrate with another notification. Likes, shares, tags, comments. She turned it face down, but the glow lit up the ceiling, refusing to let her rest. At first, she thought it might all blow over. People film outrageous things every day. Most get lost in the endless churn of the internet. But by 11 p.m., she realized this wasn't fading, it was growing. Someone had uploaded the clip of Raymond sneering. That's servitude, and I don't reward servitude. Within 2 hours, it had 500,000 views. Another video captured his mocking laughter when she placed the check, his voice dripping with disdain as he said, "You should be grateful you're even allowed to serve people like me." That clip alone had 2 million views before midnight. By 1 a.m., Hashtag surge to the top of Twitter. Hashtag invisible no more. Hashtag tip your server. Hashtag Callahan collapse. The comments poured in raw and furious. This is everything wrong with corporate greed in one clip. She's a queen for keeping her composure. He humiliated her, and the whole world saw it. Maya sat cross-legged on her bed, scrolling in disbelief. Her face, caught on strangers' cameras, was everywhere now. Some screenshots highlighted the way she stood calmly while Raymond raged. Others zoomed in on her eyes, steady, refusing to break. People began calling her the waitress who didn't flinch. Her chest tightened. She hadn't meant for this. She'd just been doing her job, enduring humiliation like countless service workers do every day. But somehow, the world had chosen this moment, this encounter, to explode. By 2 a.m., celebrities were chiming in. A famous actor tweeted, "Every worker deserves respect." Watching this broke me. Solidarity with Maya. An award-winning singer posted on Instagram, "I've been that waitress. Never again. Hashtag tip your server." A late-night comedian devoted a segment to it, replaying Raymond's outbursts with exaggerated reenactments, the audience roaring with laughter. "Ladies and gentlemen," he quipped, "apparently humility doesn't come standard with a $200,000 watch." The crowd erupted. Clips of the bit were shared millions of times before dawn. Across the city, Raymond Callahan's night unraveled in a very different way. He sat in his penthouse suite overlooking Manhattan, the skyline twinkling like nothing could touch him, but his phone wouldn't stop ringing. First, it was his head of PR, frantic. "Raymond, you need to make a statement." He cut her off. "It'll blow over. People are sheep. Tomorrow they'll be outraged about something else." But the calls kept coming. An investor snarled, "Do you understand what you've done? The optics are catastrophic. Pull your head out of the sand." Another board member snapped, "You embarrass the company. The deal is hanging by a thread." Raymond downed 2 glasses of scotch, his jaw tight. He barked at his assistant, "Draft a statement. Something like, 'I regret the misunderstanding.' That should shut them up." But by 3 a.m., it was clear nothing would shut anyone up. The videos weren't fading. They were multiplying. People stitched them, reacted to them, dissected them frame by frame. His words became memes overnight. Screenshots of his sneer turned into viral stickers with captions like "servitude?" Seriously. By 5 a.m., Raymond's name was the top trending topic worldwide. At 7 a.m., every major news outlet had picked it up. Morning shows replayed the clips with solemn commentary. "This isn't just about tipping," one anchor said gravely. "It's about power, race, respect, and entitlement." Panelists debated heatedly. One host asked, "If he treats workers this way in public, how does he treat his employees in private?" Meanwhile, reporters camped outside Callahan Capital headquarters. Employees trickled in, shielding their faces, whispering that the board had called an emergency meeting. At 9 a.m., Raymond staggered into the office, sunglasses hiding his bloodshot eyes. Cameras flashed. Shouts rang out. "Mr. Callahan, do you have anything to say to Maya Johnson?" He ignored them, storming past. But upstairs, the boardroom was waiting. Half a dozen directors sat stiffly around the long table, faces grim. The chairman leaned forward. "Raymond, the investors have pulled out. The $3.5 billion deal is gone. Our stock is down 17% overnight. You've humiliated the firm. This is untenable." Raymond's face reddened. "You can't do this. I am Callahan Capital." The chairman's voice was like stone. "As of this morning, you're finished. The board has voted unanimously. You're removed as CEO. Pack your office." Silence fell. Raymond's jaw clenched, his fists balled. For once, words failed him. Back in her small apartment, Maya watched the live coverage on her phone, stunned. She saw reporters announce, "Breaking news. Callahan ousted as CEO after viral scandal." Luis, her co-worker, called screaming, "Maya, do you see this? You just toppled a billionaire." Her hands trembled. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt free. For the first time in years, the weight of invisibility lifted. By afternoon, the restaurant where she worked was packed. Customers flooded in not for food, but to see her. They left huge tips on tiny orders, scribbling notes. "Stay strong. We see you. Thank you for standing tall." An older woman pressed a folded 20 into her palm, whispering, "You spoke for all of us who've been dismissed. Bless you." Maya blinked back tears. She hadn't shouted, hadn't fought back, But somehow, the world had heard her anyway. As night fell again, the city seemed to hum with her name. Donations poured into a GoFundMe a stranger had set up for her. Tens of thousands within hours. Job offers arrived in her inbox. A talk show invited her to speak. Daniel called, his voice proud. Maya, the board just made it official. Callahan's empire collapsed because of his arrogance. You didn't just change your life, you changed mine. I've been promoted. The firm sees me differently now. She smiled softly, sitting by her window as the lights of the city glimmered. Daniel, I never wanted to be a symbol. Sometimes, he said, symbols choose us. Maya gazed out, her reflection shimmering against the glass. The skyline stood tall, untouchable. But she knew now no one was untouchable, not even the men who thought themselves gods. She whispered, no one is invisible. And that's how one waitress brought down a billionaire, without shouting, without revenge, just by standing tall while arrogance exposed itself. Backhand index pointing right, what do you think? Did Raymond deserve to lose everything? Have you ever seen karma strike this fast? Comment your thoughts below. Your voices matter here. And if you want more powerful, true stories like this one, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Residential Stories.